I want to thank all the firefighters and first responders, the Highway Patrol, the National Guard, everyone who's worked so hard under very, very trying conditions. And our thoughts and our prayers are with those who've lost loved ones, members of their family, neighbors, and friends. This is truly a tragedy that all Californians can understand and respond to and be very sympathetic. We're going to do everything we can. We're requesting presidential declaration, funding coming from the federal government. Of course, there will be efforts from the state government as well. It's a time to pull together and work through this tragedy. The way I would describe it, and I'm going to amend something I said before, this is not the new normal, this is the new abnormal. And this new abnormal will continue, certainly in the next 10 to 15 to 20 years. And unfortunately, the best science is telling us that dryness, warmth, drought, all those things, they're going to intensify. Predictions by some scientists are that we've already gone up 1 degree. I think we can expect a half a degree, which is catastrophic, over the next 10 to 12 years. So we have a real challenge here, threatening our whole way of life. So we got to pull together. People have ideas, whether it's forest management or how to do our fire prevention. Great, let's hear about them. And we're going to have to invest more and more in adaptation. When we talk about things like the climate and the warming climate, and we talk about words like adaptation, that's what we're talking about. And it's not millions, it's billions and tens and probably hundreds of billions, even in the span of a few years. So we've got lots of work to do. It is a time of sadness, but also one to reflect on where we are and just resolve to pull together and do everything we can to help those in need and to take the steps to minimize and mitigate the damage that's so obvious. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Governor Brown?
Governor Brown?
Yeah.
Angela Hurt with Politico. We're here again a few months after you last spoke to a group of reporters, and 25 more people are dead. Is the state doing enough to hold investor-owned utilities accountable and to help residents prepare to leave if they have to?
Well, we don't know the cause of this fire, and the town of Paradise certainly had a lot of preparation, but we're dealing with existential conditions that once they take off, there's a certain amount of dryness in the vegetation, in the soil, in the air, then the winds get up 50, 60 miles an hour. This is what happens, and we have to keep understanding it better, but we're in a new abnormal, and things like this will be part of our future. And this won't be the beginning. It'll be things like this and worse. That's why it's so important that we take steps to help communities, to do prevention and then adaptation to the extent we can. Some of that's forest management, some of it is vegetation management, but even with all of that, you have to have escape routes and ways to identify people and to notify them. So we're trying all that, but we're getting caught up here in a changed world that not so many people were aware of or were thinking about. So I'd say people, they're doing the best they can, but it's not good enough. We're going to have to do a lot more. Yes?
How many people are unaccounted for?
That I would ask Mark.
Right now, I think they're still looking at roughly about 100 or so individuals that are going to account for it, but they're still trying to go through their finding assessment, working with the shelters, talking with family members. Many people who evacuated out further from Butte County. Some are in Sacramento, some are down the Bay Area. So there's a huge effort to try to make an accounting for all of those that have been still unaccounted for.
So that's 100 in Butte County.
Roughly, yeah. There are no unaccounted for in Southern California.
And for Chief Hemlock, what's the delay on the assessment of the cause of the Tubbs fire?
We continue to process the evidence and prepare the report. Understand, very complex fire burning under very difficult weather conditions, winds that were going in multiple directions. Understand, we want that report to be exactly what it needs to be: accurate, comprehensive. Our investigators are pulling out every stop to ensure they've eliminated, as well as provided every piece of information, eliminated any cause that didn't occur or is not part of the evidence. And so there's a lot at stake here. This is very important. And so it will be ready to go when it's done, and we're not going to rush that or provide it out there any sooner than that.
Will it be done by the end of this year?
I think that we're getting much closer. I'm not going to put a date on it because I don't want to put the investigators in a position that they need to be rushed. Yes, we are working very diligently to get it done, and we are very hopeful to have it completed here in the near term. Yes.
Fox 40, Charmaine Nero. This is for the governor. Of course, we're going to ask this question, but do you have any response to the president's comments about the forest management?
Well, yeah, the scientists and the engineers and the firefighters all tell us forest management is one element. It's only one. And we have to take care of the whole range of threats and conditions and actions that are part of our living with fire threats. And while we do more forest management, both the federal government, which has more land than the state government, and by private people in the state, we have to all do more. But managing all the forests in everywhere we can does not stop climate change. And those who deny that are definitely contributing to the tragedies that we're now witnessing and will continue to witness in the coming years. So the chickens are coming home to roost. This is real here. And it's not a question of pointing this way or that way, but pulling together in these tragic circumstances and thinking wisely and collaboratively. And that's the spirit in which I'm approaching all that we need to do in response to these fires.
Any plans to redirect some of the National Guard troops at the border to help with fire threats?
That you could ask the general. If they're needed, they'll go wherever they're needed. Definitely fighting fires is of a higher priority than that business on the border. All right? Thank you very much for coming. All right.